Okay, this is just a quick video showing mathematically that the marginal cost will intersect the average cost curve at its minimum. I might do another video on why it makes sense intuitively, but this is purely just showing it mathematically. So let's start with some definitions. What is marginal cost? It's the first derivative of total cost. So TC prime of Q equals MC. That is what MC is. As for average cost, what's average cost? Average cost is total cost divided by quantity. With those definitions, we can proceed. Give myself a bit of real estate on the screen here. Oh, okay. Right, so we want the average cost curve at its minimum. So how do we find that? Well, to get the minimum of a curve, we take its derivative. So derivative of average cost with respect to quantity is d on dq of average cost, which we just defined. I'm going to write it, instead of writing TC on Q, I'm just going to write TC as a function of Q times Q to the minus 1. That's the same thing as I wrote a moment ago. It just makes it easier to take the derivative when you write it like that. Notice that it's two functions of Q, so we need to use the product rule. That's one thing you've got to be careful of when you're doing this. So what is the derivative then? Well, with the product rule, we write that out again. So TC Q times the derivative of that, which is, you've got your minus 1, you bring your exponent down, Q to the minus 2, plus, you write that side out again, and then our derivative, remember our derivative of this total cost is marginal cost, as we defined up here. So I'm going to write MC. So using the product rule, that is our derivative of average cost with respect to quantity. I'm going to set our first order condition equal to 0. And I'm just going to pop that over on the other side and just rewrite this side. So we have minus TC. I'm going to get rid of the Q. And I'm going to bring that down underneath. So you've got Q squared, like that. That's exactly the same as that, just written slightly differently. I'm going to put that on the other side of the equality. So we have equals minus MC over Q. Now notice that we've got minus signs on both sides, so we can just multiply the equation by minus 1 and just get rid that. So it's all the same, it's all just slight algebraic manipulation of our first derivative. So we have TC on Q squared equals MC. What do we do with that? Well, we can multiply across by Q, and we get TC on Q equals MC. What's TC on Q? That is average cost equals marginal cost. You can go one step further and prove that it's indeed a minimum rather than a maximum with the second order condition. I'm not going to do that here. You won't need to do that, I don't think, for any sort of standard undergraduate microeconomics. I think this will just be sufficient as a mathematical proof. So yeah, that's just a quick one on the maths behind why, or showing that marginal cost equals average cost at its minimum.